Hi, it's Torry, and today is a very special bonus episode of the pod. Nick and I are deep diving Midnight's Taylor Swift's 10th studio album, but you already knew that. And I just wanted to let you know that this is part one of a part three series. The other two parts are going to be Patreon exclusives. So if you want to listen to part two after you're done today's episode, head on over to patreon.com/RTBP podcast and you can listen to part two that's already up and part three that will be released later this week or early next. In part one, we are talking about the first 5 songs on Midnight, and part two, we talk about the next 7 and then, or 8, my apologies. And then on part 3, we're going to talk about the 3 a.m. tracks, as well as we pick 16 songs that we think Taylor will perform in her upcoming tour. We share our favorite song from the album, our least favorite song, and we listen to a voicemail from Melody to see which song she is most likely to fall asleep to, which will then then translate into her Spotify Wrapped #1 spot for this year. So again, if you want to listen to part 2 and part 3, head on over to patreon.com/RTBP podcast.
A playlist original.
What's up? It's your host Torry, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. So glad you're here. Very exciting episode. Nick is joining us today. Nick, how are you?
I am here.
Okay, let's get into today's episode. We're going to talk about Midnight's Obvi. What were your thoughts leading up to this album?
Okay, so yeah, I was unsure of what the vibe was going to be, and I think they announced at some point in time that she was releasing 3 clips of songs onto TikTok, right?
Yeah.
And was that ahead of the album drop?
It was, but I think that ended up getting scrapped because because rumor has it, because the album got leaked, or at least the original version, not the 3 a.m. version. She was pissed, and I'm pretty sure she scrapped that.
I didn't know that she scrapped it, but I was like, well, I don't have TikTok, so I guess I'm not even going to get to hear the vibe clips. I was like, hopefully they'll show up on an Instagram reel or something for me. I'll just live over there. So I didn't have any vibe. The only thing that I had to go off of was her Midnight Mayhems with Me to try to figure out aesthetically what we were getting at. And I was like, okay, that phone has a telephone cord. So we're clearly not in the 2000s. And the graphics to me felt very 80. Or maybe she was up against that wood vinyling background type
70s.
Thing. Yeah, so I was like, okay, I think we had both talked about much prior to this album getting released back in the days that we thought it was Woodvale or what.
Yeah, good times.
That it was going to be an album she could tour with.
Yes.
I knew logically we were getting an album she would tour with, which is more pop-centered music. So I was trying, is it going to be synth pop? But how is it going to be different from 1989? Because obviously she's not going to make the same type of album again. So I was really kind of just thinking we were going to get some more upbeat pop songs with better lyrics than you traditionally get from pop songs, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah, I agree that it's you can't tour a stadium tour with just Evermore and Folklore. So I was I know we're going to have a banger of an album. And I think that this delivered some stadium, some songs that would be good in her stadium tour, which we'll talk about.
I'm sure she was thinking about all of these different elements in her head when creating an album. But I think she knew that she didn't need to have essentially 13 stadium songs, right? Because she's I have essentially 4 albums to draw upon to make a set list, which let's drop a little hint for later. Tori and I will go over what we think, our set list will be from the last 4 albums, including Midnight's.
Yes.
And I think she was wanting to still play around kind of in the sound of Folklore and Evermore that she likes so much while also creating a tour album. And I think it did a really,
100%.
really well job of balancing both of those different elements.
Yeah, I felt like, and I've seen this on TikTok, but I really truly felt like there was like 1989 sounds, rap sounds, and ever more folklore.
Yeah,
Or
I
folk more
agree. And
sounds.
from the first few, like, I was not staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning
I
to listen
know.
to this album, right? I'm on the East Coast. I had students the day when I went on a Friday, and they're like, "Did you stay up till midnight to listen to Midnights?" And I was like, "Look, I cannot afford like to do that. Was I up at midnight? Yes, but I look, Tori. It was Thursday night. It was trivia night, and then after trivia ended, it was only like 8:15. So we went out after trivia.
Oh
So
my
by the
God, Nick.
so I had dropped my friend off like just before midnight. So when I was driving from his house back to my house, I was like, okay, I can play the first song off of Midnights and listen to it, but I cannot commit to 1 a.m. for this whole album. Little
Yeah.
did I know that there was a 3 a.m. release. Like, could you have imagined if I stayed up till 1 a.m. and then in my head I was like, I can just stay up till 4 a.m. and listen to the 3 a.m. track. Like, there was no fucking chance that that was happening.
Yeah.
So I just listened to it on my way to school on um, Friday morning and got through all of the tracks but two. And then I listened to the other two later.
Yeah. So I did my live stream for Midnights and we listened to all 13 songs. And then we were just, chatting afterwards. And someone in the chat goes like, we're only 19 minutes out from the 3 a.m. So at this time for me, it would be what,
It would have
like
been just before
almost,
midnight for you, right? Because
yeah,
3 a.m. was
yes.
drop on the Pacific Coast.
Yes, yeah, yeah. So it was nearing midnight for me. And I was like, hey, should we just stay up for the chaotic surprise? Then we see that it's 7 new songs. And I'm like, oh, I really want to go to bed. And then people are like, stay for listen to the 7. So we listened to the 7. We ended up live streaming till like 1:30 Pacific time.
Yeah, that,
And that's fucked my sleep for like the past 4 days. So thank you. It was super fun. But like now, the past like 3 nights, I've gone to bed at like 2 a.m. And
yep,
it's now currently ruining my life.
that's. She said midnights twice and multiple more nights of midnights for you to write your own midnight centered music.
Literally. So, should we get into the lyrics like analysis and like the sound of the album? We're gonna do our draft for her upcoming tour. We'll do fave song, least favorite song, and we have a special voice memo from our friend.
Who may or may not have needed some guidance after the Folklore 2 year.
Literally. But I feel like we should get into the songs.
Yeah, I think so. I'm ready for that too. Before we jump into that though, I want to know like I heard that she made like $63 million off of merch or
Okay.
something. Can you give me the rundown on like all that? Because what was the only merch that I saw personally was all of the like different colored albums.
Yes. So it's really funny because like everyone on TikTok is like, we love our like capitalist queen. And like it's just so true because like other than the lavender edition of the vinyl, there was no additional songs on the different colored ones. Basically, they just made a clock. All 4
Yeah.
of them just made a clock on the back. And the merch is like literally horrendous. Like it's
Wait, there is actually merch.
there's so much more merch. And they're just like badly like print screened socks and like hoodies. And I just am like, Tay, you made $63 million in 2020. Like you don't need to put out this like shit. And then like we were talking about this on the live stream, but it's like there are so many cool like Etsy designers and stuff that make really cool Taylor inspired merch and stuff. And I'm like, she should hire those people or like license those designs or something because like her shit is ugly right now.
More ugly than the cardigan.
Yeah. The cardigan looks good in comparison.
Oh god.
Literally, like this looks really tacky.
Do we blame her though? Like, who has time to focus on merch when you've been writing 4 albums and 2 re-record albums over a 2 year span? Like, I mean, she definitely has the people that could do it. For $63 million, spare like a small percentage of that and higher quality shit. But she probably also is like, I don't need to.
Yeah, everyone on the live stream was joking. They were like, I bet she's going to drop another floaty because remember, she had those like floaties. But like, well, actually, Kenzie, my friend who's a singer-songwriter, was telling me like how you make $0 on Spotify. So basically, artists have to make money off of touring and merch. And you know, she hasn't been able to tour for the last couple years, so she's obviously like doubling down on the merch, but it's a little bit excessive.
Oh, for sure.
Also, I want to say, we don't have Target in Canada, even though you can apparently buy the lavender version at this like record store here, but I haven't heard Hits Different yet.
So literally moments before we started recording this podcast, Torry was like, okay, I'm waiting on the Zoom. And I was like, okay, let me just listen to Dear Reader.
I was like, rip to your ears.
and Torry was like, it's literally the worst song on the album. Plot twist. Oh, sorry,
yeah,
spoiler
plot
alert.
twist. Yeah, literal spoiler alert. I always spoil my song, though, before the end, so.
But then Torry texted me, she was like, I still haven't listened to Hits Different. And I looked at the text for like 3 minutes probably as I was like running around getting ready for sitting down here, and I was like, am I just like misinterpreting her text? Like, is there a song Hits Different that I didn't know about? Like, so I like opened back up the 3 a.m. version because I was like,
did you
maybe
miss something?
Yeah, I was like, I didn't really listen to all of the 3 a.m. tracks like in a row consecutively in order. So I was like, maybe I did somehow miss it. And then I was like, I have no idea what Tori's talking about. Maybe like wrong message. So until this exact second, I didn't know that there was a song called Hits Different.
Yeah, so apparently on the lavender version that you can only buy at Target, there's a song called Hits Different, and then there's 2 like instrumental or like orchestral like versions of 2 of the other songs.
But my question and shady point about the damn records is like,
yeah,
how many people, like if you had to pick a number, what % of people who buy those albums actually have a fucking record player?
I just remember like okay, if I had to guess like 10%, like it's low, but like I remember there was a big trend in like, I would say like maybe like 2015 where a lot of people were buying record players from Urban Outfitters.
Yep, nope. So, and I was just going to say that. So my sister bought one of those record player from Urban Outfitters probably around 2015.
Yes.
The record player she bought cannot play like a particular type of album. And I remember her buying like an Arctic Monkeys album or something and putting it on, and it straight up just didn't
play.
play
because you have to have certain type of like vinyl, like
So now we have this record player that is also a Bluetooth speaker that we only use as a Bluetooth speaker now. So it's like,
well, like it's aesthetics.
Yeah, so, no, and then that's what it is. But the aesthetic of what? Like showing. If I walk, and this is shade. If I walk into somebody's house and they had like 6 records on display that they had bought over the last 5 years but didn't own a record player, I would judge them so hard. I'd be like, just print out a colored version of
and frame it.
You don't need to spend $20-something on this damn like vinyl so you can be like 70s chic. Show me that we're responsible with money.
Yes. Okay, because I was also going to buy a record player in 2015 for the aesthetics. And then I like looked at records. I was like, okay, they're like $25 each. And how often would I play this? Like 0% of the time. So I was money conscious there. Like,
and we support that.
yeah, in that one moment, no other moments.
So I want to know, actually, from people who are listening to this podcast, let Torry know if you are somebody who got swindled by the Taylor Swift scammer herself and bought the Lavender one or one of the other ones, but don't actually own a record player. Like, just fess up to it. Just
tell us now.
It's okay. Yeah. We're silently judging. Not so silently judging.
Or tell us if you were bamboozled into buying a record player in 2015.
Yes, or that one. That was some
literally.
Mass propaganda leading up to Christmas 2015. No.
Literally, like I bought one for my sister for Christmas probably that year, maybe 2016 or whatever, and then she bought like 5 records, never used it, and then sold it on like Facebook Marketplace like for probably half the price.
So that
Yeah.
brings like how many people have actually heard Hits Different?
Like all the bitches that went to Target and got the
And
lavender version.
but have those people leaked it online for the rest of us?
Okay, so I'm sure they've leaked it on like Reddit or something like that, but I did a quick YouTube search and I did a quick Spotify search and it's straight up not on those.
Okay,
So
fakes. Because I remember back in like 2010 or 2009, I could find the like I'd Lie version of Taylor Swift on YouTube that has never come to see the light of day since that YouTube video. So
Yeah.
I like I just want to say 2000s YouTubers work harder than today's TikTokers.
100%. Yeah, like where
Yeah.
like bring back
Yeah.
LimeWire.
Can we
And,
get the
like,
people who really grind?
yes, yes.
I
No,
know
I
that person
agree.
stole Lana Del Rey's laptop in order to get songs off of it. Like, where is the commitment, people?
That was so fucking nuts. I feel like that's such an underrated story that literally someone stole Lana Del Rey's laptop out of her fucking car to get the leaks. Like, it's low-key iconic. Like, and then hacked onto her computer. Like, I'm so confused. But like, bring
We don't
us
support
hits
criminals,
different.
but
No,
we appreciate the grind.
yeah, we would appreciate if you uploaded hits different ASAP. Okay, let's get into it. Let's talk about the first song, Lavender Haze.
Okay, I don't think I have ever been so excited for an album after I heard the first like 5 notes of Lavender Haze because I was like, I was
When
like,
she was like,
yeah,
meet me at midnight, I was
night.
like, oh my fucking God. Like, I should pull the clip from the live stream. I literally died.
Maybe I'm midnight.
It is so good. Like, it's just a really good song. I think, like, okay, it's not my favorite song, but like, it's probably in my top 3. Like,
So he
it's
said,
fucking good. Yeah,
He said, let me pause for a second so I don't spoil anything.
Yeah, I was like, let me check my. Oh, I don't want to show you, but let me check my post-it note that I wrote everything down on. So I didn't put it in the outline so Nick couldn't peek. But like, it's so fucking good. Like the lines about like, if I'm gonna be like, people keep asking if I'm gonna be your bride. Like, it's just, it's so fucking good.
I love what she does with her vocals too, where she goes like in almost like 2 different registers. I'm not like a music coach, so I don't know what you would call them. But like, when she's
octaves,
like, that
maybe
1950 shit they want from me, like that type of vocal from like the other parts of the song, I love. One of my friends compared it to that she was listening to it, and she was like, I kept thinking it was gonna like switch to like I think he knows with the like beat of it and kind of like how she was singing it. And after I listened to it with that in mind, I was like, yes, I see exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
It was the perfect album opener because, like, again, even my sister, who's not a big Taylor Swift fan, is like, I really like Lavender Haze.
It's really good. It's a really good song. I'm kind of surprised for how seemingly traditional Taylor Swift is in her relationships that she was so anti-marriage on this album.
Yeah, she brought that up in several different songs about being
Yeah.
like, why do people like keep talking about me wanting to like be a bride? Like, to me, it felt very much like, are people not going to accept this as a real relationship unless I'm married?
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like also just the pressure of, because now she's 32,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like also just the pressure of marriage in your 30s is a lot greater than it is in your 20s.
Yeah, I think the other thing that was kind of interesting is I don't remember what song it was on, so maybe you can remember. I don't feel as like ready for this podcast as the other ones where I listened like 100 times before.
I know.
But there was one of the songs where she had a line that talked about like unless you're a one night stand or a wife, like there's no room for anything in between.
Yeah, that's this song.
Oh, it is this song.
Yeah.
Oh, look at me not jumping ahead. I was so well prepared for this podcast story.
Honestly, we'll clip out the part where you said you weren't.
But I think that like that was a theme that ran through the album, which makes me almost in some ways like look at her relationship with Joe even different now. Is like she's kind of like, yeah, okay, I've been in a relationship with him for like so many years, but that doesn't mean it has to lead to marriage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely think like there's references to Joe. So there's lyrics. I find it dizzying. They're bringing up my history, but you weren't even listening. That very much seems like, because in Lover and then all of her subsequent albums, I feel like she talks about Joe about how he like didn't care about her star status and her past relationships, etc. He sounds like a fucking saint, like literally. But yeah, I definitely think that they're like in a real relationship and like it's a good relationship. Like I know people think sometimes they're not. They're in like a bearded relationship, but I don't think that's the case. I think they're in a real one.
Yeah, this song too, like the line of like get it off your chest, like get it off my desk is something I keep listening to, and I'm like, I don't really know if I can. I'm sure that the Swifties have cracked it, like what she means by like the get it off my desk, because that's very much like a symbol to like, yep, just like get this thing like signed, sealed,
Yeah.
delivered, check mark. Like I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with it anymore, but like I'll see it through. But I feel like that's I don't know why she's saying it in this context of like get it off.
Yeah, so like my interpretation also was the visual was someone like clearing, like taking their hand and clearing
Yep.
their desk off. And I just think it was just kind of like, yeah, like you're working on something at your desk and she just wants none of it, so she pushes it away.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my interpretation, but I'm not sure.
Because Lavender Haze, like the verbiage of it comes from basically like just being in a certain stage of love.
Yeah, this was the controversial part also prior to Midnight's being released because lavender haze and like lavender marriages and relationships are apparently queer relationships where one or if not both are bearding. And correct me if I'm wrong, but talking to my like Gaylor friends on the live stream, that's my understanding of it.
I was just gonna say, is this the Klossers?
Yeah, yeah, the Kaylors
The
for sure.
Kaylors.
But then she came out with I think it was TikToks where she was talking about the songs and she was like it was from Mad Men slash the 50s, which she does technically reference in the song. But so the Gaylors were mad because she's like it's very like queer coded and now you're saying that it's about Joe, like blah blah blah. And then the Hetlers were like, oh my God, like it's just from Mad Men, like take it for what it is. So there was a lot of controversy and I don't know where I stand, but yeah, that's a very specific turn of phrase. And like, that's why I'm like, Taylor doesn't make mistakes and Taylor would know what like turn of phrases and, symbols and references to literature and stuff like that are so important to her. So I will say I don't think that was a mistake.
Yeah, I think I have two things on that. One is it's gonna sound like a side tangent, but I probably promise you it's not. So for school, I'm currently rereading The Great Gatsby.
Oh,
And
perfect timing.
I was gonna say, is that like a foundational text for Canadian students too?
I've actually never read it, but I'm sure it's in
Wow.
schools. Yeah,
Okay.
I know.
Um, wow. Mind blown.
Yeah. Like I know the storyline and some of the importance of it and then some of the symbols and stuff, but yeah, it wasn't in my curriculum. I'm sure it is in other Canadian schools though.
Yeah, wow, okay. All of that to say is that you can read The Great Gatsby in like, in my opinion, like 4 or 5 different ways, depending on what you're focusing for, like in the text. Like you can read it just like on a plot level, you can read it on a like symbolic level, you can look at it from the perspective of like Nick as the main character, opposed to looking at it as like Gatsby the main character. And then like the way that I'm currently rereading it now is looking at like the play of what F. Scott Fitzgerald titled it, which is The Great Gatsby, which to me like almost reveals a style of like magician to Gatsby, like you know how you'd say like the Great Houdini, right?
Yes.
Or that style of like, okay, there's a magician here that's trying to focus your direction somewhere else, so you're not paying attention to like what the story is really about.
Yes, interesting.
And if you read it through that way, you look at it as, okay, Nick is telling you in all of these different ways, he's trying to highlight that he's like an honest person who doesn't judge, which like one, he definitely judges, we know that. But if you look at it for the text of like, okay, how can I figure out that like Nick is not an honest person in these deeper ways? How does that change my perception of the entire story if it seems like what he's doing is not, being reliable, right?
Yeah.
And I say that to look at this situation with Taylor and her being like, I know the conversation around me out there. I know how to spin it as this is what I'm singing and this is how I'm projecting outward to the world, but knowing that people are going to dig into my songs and my lyrics in a way that is not what I'm projecting I want them to be, but it's exactly what she wants people to be. Because that's a staying power, that's a legacy that you create years after, like, essentially and years after you've maybe even just stopped singing, that people in years listen to something down the road and interpret it a completely new way. Yes. And knowing that these rumors are around her, calling a song Lavender Haze and saying it's this, it just keeps the commotion, I think, going forward. If people ever want to go back and look at her discography as a whole, whenever her career is done, to try to figure out more things about her. And I think that might be a conscious choice she is making now in these last several albums that she wasn't before. Because Taylor Swift feels different than just like a normal singer that makes albums and makes songs. She's very much trying to wrap this whole thing around her of like, what is her mystique, right? Yeah. Interesting. So, and then all I was going to say about the Lavender Haze portion of this is, if that's like being in love and being in this stage of love that is not like getting married and all of that, I think the lyrics make a lot of sense to the title in that way, when she's like, all that 90-50 shit they want from me, or like, if you're not a one-night lover or a bride, right? So
yeah, I completely agree, because this really reminded me of the love triangle Betty, James, and Augustus or whatever. Like, because everyone was reading that as a queer relationship, and then she, in the Long Pond session, was like, started using like she, he pronouns, and everyone was disappointed, and this very much seems like that. But I also just think that that's Taylor, like that, right? Like, that's her. You're right. She wants to keep the mystique up. Her career now is creating conversations about lyrics and Easter eggs and finding stuff and blah, blah, blah. And so I feel like this is just like classic her.
And I think that her Easter eggs now are not even like hints of what's coming next for her. They are things that fans and people that look at her can interpret in any way that they want to, and support that with evidence that they want to support it with. And I still think it's funny that people are like trying to dig up Easter eggs for when she might release something or whatnot. I'm not saying she doesn't do that, but it's definitely not as common as like the people on Twitter would want to make it seem that it is.
Yes.
Really, people, like, come on, like, we don't.
I know, like, literally, I was on TikTok and it was like 10 plus 3 plus 5 minus 7, like, is actually going to be the next like release date, and I was like,
okay,
no.
For people who love doing that, I'm going to try to set you up with maybe something a little bit more enjoyable for you. Watch The Mole on Netflix.
Yes!
There are clues in there that lead directly to the answer you're going to get at the end of the season. So if you love trying to crack codes without knowing the actual answer, go watch The Mole.
Yes, okay, that is such a good one. And okay, there's also another one, and I can't remember what it's called. It's a comedy crime TV show on Netflix where there's a host. Is it Will Arnett? Hold on, let me just.
Is it the one that Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek is in?
Yes. And I was trying to get you to watch it, I feel like.
Is it like Murderville?
Murderville, thank you. Okay. Yes. Okay, if you're into Taylor Swift Easter eggs, but you're tired of being wrong, like, watch Murderville, because basically it's like Will Arnett is a police detective, and he brings famous celebrities like Annie Murphy from Schitt's Creek, and Annie has to solve a crime by going to different like pieces at like bits of the crime scene and picking stuff up, and then guess who like the murderer was. And yeah, it's really fun because it's comedy, but you also are looking for clues yourself that someone is the murderer.
I really do think this is so off topic.
Yeah, but everyone expects that. Like,
I really do think that is like the next wave of TV. It's
Yeah.
bringing about these shows where the viewers can play along with it, but they don't have to have like the time commitment to watch like a Game of Thrones thing. Because that's the crux
Yes.
of TV anyway, right? Even when you watch like a comedy show or a drama, like you're trying to figure out where things are going to go, and there's a carefully crafted storyline to figure those things out. I think now just being more intentional about like, hey, yes, there is a mystery. We are explicitly leaving you pieces to, and we're going to wrap it up in a shorter period of time. I think that's why people love Knives Out, and the reason that
Yes.
Knives Out 2 is going to come directly straight to Netflix opposed to, like, you know, doing a movie
Theaters.
theater run, because
Yeah.
Netflix shelled out a lot of money to get that movie. And I think
Yeah.
if it proves to be successful as, like, okay, like, murder mystery or just like mystery and solving stuff, and they've put a lot of money into the mole, we could see Netflix try to like revive that, which, you know,
100%.
people who watch the critically not acclaimed show Who Done It on ABC like a decade ago, our hearts are like happy right now.
Literally. Who knew Who Done It was going to be brought up in this episode? Like, fucking not me.
Actually, you know, I just said it was ABC. It was definitely Fox.
It was on. I think it was on ABC
Oh, was it?
in Canada, at least. Yeah. I think it
Another
was
mystery to
ABC.
solve.
Yeah. Let us know. We're not gonna look it up.
Can't wait for Taylor Swift to put Who Done It in her next song. No body, no crime. All right.
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on to the
Anyways.
color of blood, Maroon.
Yeah, Maroon. I'm also obsessed with this song.
Okay, this might be
Duh.
my first hot take.
You don't like Maroon?
I have not yet gotten into it after 5 or 6 listens.
Oh my god!
I actually had-
that's a hot take.
I had to watch the lyric video for it yesterday, like as I was getting ready to go to the wedding, because I was like, maybe I'm like missing something like in the lyrics. I'm very confused about what she's singing about in the first place, and like that might just be like an issue like for me. I was very confused when she was talking about like the wine you spilt on me, and I was like, wait, did he throw a glass of wine at her? Like were they like, you know, like foreplaying and he spilled it on her? Like,
Yeah.
and then like, and she's talking about like the marks, something on her like collarbone, which I'm assuming are like hickeys. But I'm confused about like, so give it to me. Give me the sound, like sonically, it sounds so different than Lavender Haze and Antihero that I'm like, I just don't know how to process it.
Yeah. So, you know why I love this? Because I'm a big Kaler girl. You're like, shut the fuck up. And I think that this is about Carly. So, like, you're like, you think everything's about Carly. So, like, I really
You've been
like
indoctrinated.
I know, like, so, like, it's so true. So, like, okay, why I think it's about Carly and so why I enjoy it is because, like, okay, so she talks about close friends, which I think is a very, like, is a, you know, usually a metaphor for, like, closeted relationships, which this was. And then I love the line about cheap-ass screw-top rosé because, A, I only drink cheap-ass screw-top rosé. I was like, okay, like, called out. Like, and then I just think that that's such a great line. Like, I just love that visual. Why it reminded me of Carly specifically, rosé comes up in The One on Folklore. Rosé flowing with your chosen family. And we think The One is about Carly. And then I feel like these visuals of like Dancing with No Shoes, especially in New York. Also,
Gross.
I know. Every time I'm like the rat like situation. But like I just like very much think that was the time of like Cornelia Street, Lover, Carly, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Spilling wine also comes up in Dress.
Love Dress.
I love Dress. And and I just love like her songs. She clearly has a thing with the color red. Duh.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, people like dispute that. But like, yeah, like I just love her descriptions of like thought it was burning red, but it's golden. Like, you know, just all of her references to red. I just feel like this is another layer on top of her feelings towards this color and what it evokes, and that's why I think I like it so much.
Yeah, first of all, the lyric about like screw top rose is legitimately one of the best lines on the album. Like I love it.
It is so fucking good. It's one of those things that like she could definitely like trademark. Like, you know how she tried to like trademark like I coughed, not was it I coughed on the beat and the beat got sicker, or like no, that wasn't her, but
I
like
coughed on the beat and the beat
yeah.
got sicker.
Okay,
that
was
absolutely not Taylor Swift.
It's not Taylor Swift. But okay, what she was
said
like,
haters gonna hate. I believe.
Okay, she tried to do that, but she also tried this beat is sick or something like that.
That was Lady Gaga. This beat is sick. I want to take a ride.
Okay, what does Taylor Swift say about the beat?
Wait, I know, I got it. It's the beauty in the beat. Oh, that wasn't Taylor either.
Okay, whatever. I fucking give up.
I really think it was like haters gonna hate. It was something from Shake It Off.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Torry's laughing, but her facial expressions right now.
Okay, whatever. I just think that, yeah, that's something she's gonna like try to trademark.
Yeah, she's gonna open her next merch is gonna be wine, and it's gonna be cheap ass screw top rose,
and she will sell it. Yeah,
she will sell it for not a cheap ass amount of money.
Yeah, literally, I would be buying that for sure.
But yeah, I think like the visual of it is really good. It's relatable. Like that right there is a. If people went back to caring about Instagram comments or like quotes, like people would use that one.
100%. That's such a good point. I also just think like it's a really relatable song because it talks about like roommates. It kind of seems like college vibes.
Yeah.
And like how she's just so wrapped up in this person that she gets distracted. Like they forgot about the incense and you know it like burned all over their vinyl shelf, which again, message us if you have a vinyl shelf. and then like just being like super, I don't know, obsessed with this person. And like, yeah, I just feel like the other thing I want to say about the Carly thing is like they were like kind of roommates in New York.
And they were roommates?
And they were roommates.
God, they were roommates.
History will say they were roommates. And yeah, I just feel like okay, so like people on the live stream were asking like, how do you interpret the quote? How'd we end up on the floor anyways? You say your roommate's cheap ass screw top rose. That's how. I kind of feel like that would be like the love interest saying that to Taylor, and then Taylor being like your roommate talking about herself, the rose.
Okay.
Fuck you.
I just wish I had more to add on this. I'm like scrolling and reading the lyrics of Maroon right now, and I'm wishing I had more thoughts. Like,
you're fine.
To me, everything you've just said sounds like a super exciting song, but the song doesn't excite me.
I know.
I wish
that's
the
fair.
beat was different. Maybe like that's my. You know what? I think Maroon might suffer from its placement on the album.
Interesting. Okay.
Because one, whenever I look at like the second song on the album, I expect it to be like one of the better songs on the album, or at least one of the like more like banger type of songs on the album. And I like Cardigan was that for Folklore, Cruel Summer was that for Lover, Endgame was that for Reputation. Whether Endgame we think is good or not, different question. But it was like an up like banger type of song. But then in her last two albums, Evermore, she chose Champagne Problems. The problem with that was I'm Going to Bed Now. And then and this one, it's Maroon, and it's also kind of like a slower song. And I just don't expect that at the early part of an album that starts with like a jam. And then the third song is also a very much like pop song. So I think maybe that's why I was thrown off. And maybe if I listen to it like in succession with other songs, I'd enjoy it more. I definitely think it has one with the potential to grow on me. But, you know, 72 hours post-release. I'm not very, I'm more blue on Maroon.
Okay, I want to say one thing and then let's move on to Antihero. There's rumors that she used to date a girl, like a student from Harvard, like when she was younger. And Harvard's color is maroon.
I know that Massachusetts represent.
Yes. So, and like the roommate kind of definitely evokes like college and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just wanted to throw that theory out there. But
I can get.
Yeah, like I could see that, right?
Yes.
And like, what do you buy in university? Like cheap ass screw top
Rosé.
rosé. Yeah, like literally. Okay, let's move to Antihero. This song got a music video, and it was definitely touted as, I feel like, kind of one of her like singles that's not a single.
Mhm. It's definitely the lead single that's not getting it's getting lead single treatment without being the lead single, and I think that that was a good decision for Taylor. Like I
Yeah.
really like Antihero, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, she finally kind of like nailed a good pick with like an album, focal point.
Yes. And like, I definitely think the vocal point of this album is just like how she really like struggles with herself
Hmm.
and a lot of things, about her. And this is just new insights to her as a person that we don't normally get.
Which makes sense with like she's talking about these songs were written at like those midnights or 13 midnights or whatever it is, and it being very like um introspective on yourself and often be like harsh on yourself in parts.
Yes.
I love another line that's like up there for one of my favorite lines is, I mean, predictable, but like, it's me. Hi,
Hi,
I'm the
I'm the
problem.
problem.
It's me.
It's
Like
me.
that's yeah.
Yeah. And it's also, I feel like, very TikTokable,
Oh, for sure.
which artists I feel like are leaning
Mhm.
into, but like that's like the perfect clip.
There are definitely parts on this album that feel very TikTokable.
Yes, yes. It also gives me Peace slash The Archer vibes because those were also introspective songs where she was talking about herself.
It's Peace in the Archer, but upbeat.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, yes. Okay, I have to ask because this is like probably the most talked about thing on the internet. What do you think of the sexy baby line?
So this was something that I had saw floating around Twitter, I think on Thursday when the leaks were about, but I didn't listen to any of the leaks, nor could I find any of the leaks. And then I was something I completely forgot about until I was
Yeah.
listening to the song, and it was like, "I'm a sexy baby," and I was like, "Oh wait," or like she says, "Everybody's a sexy baby," and I was like, oh, "I remember reading this online." No idea what that means, quite frankly. I know that's connected to some type of like YouTube video that may have had like Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel hosting. Is that any recollection to you?
Oh, I'm not sure. I think like so people are saying it's from 30 Rock.
Maybe it's 30 Rock. There is
Yeah.
yeah, there's a reference like somebody was like, I have no idea what that means, and one of the Swifties came in with like, it's a connection to this. Like, don't judge
Yeah.
that line. But I did not take the 7 minutes to watch the clip on "Sexy Baby," and I just chalked it up to I think she's trying to make fun of people who use like "sexy baby" voice, which is very
Yes.
uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like there's been so many conversations. Like Z-Way did this on her showcase show this past year where she dressed up as a sexy baby.
Ooh,
Miley Cyrus has done it. Like it's definitely like talking about how men like a lot of, girl, like little girl
creepiness.
yes, traits in women, and yeah, the infantilization of women. I think that it like I burst out laughing the first time I heard it, but now that I've listened to the song like multiple times, it doesn't seem that controversial to me anymore.
Hmm. So yeah, I think it's something that like it stands out as kind of like it's like a funny line, like you can grab
Yeah.
onto it. But to me, I am just upset that people are focusing more on the "sexy baby" line than they are about the dream that her like descendant kills her or something. And they're
Yes.
like,
Okay.
they,
How did you interpret that? Because I actually like don't get that.
so I interpret that as she is looking at should she have kids or other people that she's related to, and again questioning like, do these people actually love me for me? Do they love me for the idea of being roped around just in my like life? Do they
Yeah.
just like my music? Do they like being associated to fame? um and that thought of like, yeah, even later on in life, like, are people going to try and take advantage of me and all that I've done?
Yeah.
The first verse of this album, I think, look talks. She doesn't she like mention like her depression, like working the graveyard shift and all the people that she's
Mhm.
ghosted. And the first line, also one very TikTokable, but also really enjoyable, is like, I have this thing where I get older but never wiser.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
damn right, same.
Yeah. Mood.
So I look at it kind of like in connection to to those. But it's also, again, it's fun. Taylor Swift loves bringing up these like weird ass like situations that people spiral about when they're lying in bed at night, like getting murdered. And I thought it was funny too that she then twisted back on herself when they're like, she's looking up from at us from hell.
I know,
Right.
I know. So funny.
I just think it's fun when somebody's like, yeah, I'm the anti-hero. Like, I don't possess these heroistic traits, but you still root for me anyway.
Yeah, totally, totally. And I think, again, it's just interesting that this is how she views herself. Because, again, like, and she says this in Dear Reader, she's like, don't ask for advice for people that, like, their lives are a mess. And, like, I think, again, it's just interesting because I feel like a lot of times we just are like, oh, celebs have it, like, really easy. And it's like, well, they still have problems. They're just, like, different than ours. And, like, these just seem like what she's dealing with. Also, like, the covert narcissism piece, like, I definitely feel like she's gone to therapy. I feel like she's been in therapy for a long time, but this seems like a very specific type of like modern therapy nowadays.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like I can't speak to it more than that. To me, that was like, I have this really clever phrase I want to spin and to fit in, because it's like, it's really cool when people use big words and they're able to rhyme them with like other big words.
I know. And she's really good at that. Yeah. Did you read into anything about like the lyrics like at tea time?
To me, the first time I read that, it was only because I saw like an actual visual clip, I think, from the music video, because I haven't watched the music video yet. Like, isn't she decked out in like what you would expect to be like 1700s France like get up?
Yeah, it's like apparently it's like Marie Antoinette vibes. Yeah, and apparently in her hair she has two barrettes that are like TS and then one that says SN for maybe Speak Now.
Oh, Easter egg.
Easter egg. Write it down. Her next album is coming and Speak Now.
Which is, it should be.
Yeah, but like, no, it can't. It literally can't be because Speak Now is still in court.
Oh.
I think legally it has to be debut because Speak Now and Rep
1989.
and 1989 can't be recorded.
Oh.
Rep's master's like timeline isn't up,
Yes.
and then 1989 and Speak Now are in court.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think it literally has to be debut.
Well, I guess we'll look forward to the twang. Get some Mason Ramsey on the features, please.
Literally, like I cannot wait to see if she like brings back her twang, her like country twang, or if she's just gonna like scrap it. I'm so fucking excited for that.
Yeah, but I read into tea time. You know, she's smart. She's definitely referring to like the act of spilling tea.
Tea, okay.
Like,
Because
what's that? It's like at tea time. What comes after that? Is it like?
Okay, this is, I was gonna say, this is like so funny because like, okay, so now I've listened to this album like I would say 3 times fully through, but like me trying to like remember the lyrics is like literally so funny. Like I'm singing like I know it, but I don't. It's at tea time, everybody agrees. I'll stare directly at the sun but never in the mirror.
Oh, I like that line too a lot. Yeah.
Me too, and that's very like, I really relate to this song. 1, about the depression and the ghosting. 2, about like I would way rather do something like dangerous or like not productive, like stare into the sun, than look in the mirror and like reflect on my like own being. Like,
so it's like I would rather go camping.
yeah. Like, literally.
But yeah, I like really like that. And I saw on Twitter this morning that somebody was like trying to be like, she doesn't want to look in the mirror because she thinks she's fat, and why is being fat like a bad thing or something? I was like, that is not how I interpreted that lyric at all.
Yeah, there has been some controversy about like in the music video her stepping on the scale and it reading fat, just because it reads as like being fat is bad. But like she has definitely talked about her own struggles with eating disorder and like body dysmorphia, and like, so I think that this was her trying to talk about that and it just didn't land with everybody. But
I feel like maybe I'm like naive. Like I would not, and I didn't watch the music video, so I'm gonna say like I probably should like sit this out, but I don't have the time to go watch the music video as I say this before I jump back in. I feel like it doesn't matter what like the scale says in that case. Like if you have body dysmorphia, like that's
you're gonna read it
right?
yes,
yeah. That it's not saying that fat is bad. It's more so pointing at like people's like struggles with themselves and their own like personal confidence in anything along those lines. But
Totally.
when I listen to the song, I look at it as like I'm not gonna look in the mirror and like really have like a heart to heart with myself about all of these things, right? Like,
Yeah.
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 And I think that's kind of the whole song is her talking about and looking at herself as an anti-hero. So she's like, I'm going to acknowledge that I'm wrong for not staring and looking at the mirror, but I'm not going to do that anyway. So,
Yeah.
snow on the
The
beach.
beach. Weird but
But
fucking
fucking
beautiful.
beautiful. She really likes using the word fuck now. It's like she like allowed herself to say it on Betty, and since then she's been like, I'm gonna be a fucking badass. Fuck, 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 fuck. It's like when a child
Yes.
like says a swear, and then they're like, oh, I have like shredded off my like adolescence, and I am now an adult, and I can just
Adult.
fucking swear when I fucking want to, and nobody can fucking stop me. And Tori's
Okay,
mom
but
is like
yeah,
cringing.
yeah,
That's what I got from Snow on the Beach.
she's turning this episode off. Okay, but this is the thing though with Snow on the Beach is like I feel like also Taylor Swift doesn't care about radio plays anymore. Because I
Does
think that
anybody? I mean,
no one
that's a lie.
does.
People definitely do, but I will log on to Spotify and see today's top hits, and I'll scroll down and be like, I don't know any of
One of
these.
these songs.
Yeah, and it's like they're definitely like randos that are living out in the world somewhere that probably have like some fans. But it's like I'm
No,
not. I don't know you.
no, like the only time I ever listen to the radio is like if my like phone is charging and I can't connect it to my like car. Like but yeah, I just think that people will say fuck now because they don't care about radio plays and they don't have to have it, you know, appropriate for the radio.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I feel like people saying "fuck" isn't like anymore,
Yeah,
right? Like,
100%. Like my mom would say otherwise, but like
like it's definitely not something I would say like on the reg out in public.
like
But
I
like,
do, but like I don't bat an eye if anyone says fuck anymore.
yes,
Like
yes.
seriously. Like literally don't bat an eye. I will say though I have to be better around my friend's kid Henry though because we were eating at his house the other day and I was like brought out like a hot appy from the kitchen and I was like watch your fingies and he goes watch your fingies.
That's okay. Fingies is worse than fuck.
Yeah.
You cannot be saying that F word around children. Like, come on.
I said what are your fingies and he goes my fingers.
Just about to disassociate. It's like Charlie Puth. I'm hungry.
Ew, I hate him so much.
Yeah, has anybody been like a more annoying internet celeb in the last like 2 years than Charlie Puth?
No, and I'm so disappointed because I actually really like his music, but he like makes me want to die.
Yeah, he had that song. What was it? Song like "Smells Like Me" or something that I literally could not listen to because I don't like the visual or like the. I don't want to smell you. You don't look like you smell good. You look like one of those people who deliberately tries to smell bad to have like a personality trait.
Ew, he definitely looks unshowered. Like for sure looks unshowered. Yeah. As a person that also hates showering, like whatever, but like it's gross.
Torry says if she doesn't have like a 25-minute like whole routine pre and post shower.
I know. And I did shower this morning, so I'm feeling good, but regardless, he looks unshowered. Okay, Snow on the Beach, feat Lana Del Rey. This is the only like feature on the album. What did you think?
It's kind to call it a feature.
100%. Like she obviously did that just because she had to. Because it's a joke.
This is a classic Taylor Swift features with insert woman here. And it's like, oh, okay, wait. I hear Hyam. Yes. Oh, there's their one little 4 words that I got to hear directly from them. And when she announced in the re-record of Fearless, she was like, oh, I have a song with Maroon Morris. And then you listen, you're like, okay, yeah, I hear Maroon Morris, but I hear you singing over her.
Literally,
Here, it's like the
where
same
was
thing.
she?
It's like, okay, like, and albeit like I don't know Lana Del Rey's music as much as I know like the 2 that I just mentioned. I know her Young and Beautiful from the Great Gatsby soundtrack. But I was like listening for it and I was like, okay, like this, I guess this is Lana, but I was expecting her to have like a whole verse. I don't know why I expected that because like it gave me the like dunce cap, like
I know, clown,
clown
play
emoji.
play the clown music. Yeah, 100%. Like, it was just so funny listening to this with other people and, like, literally people, like, pushing their headphones into their ears, being like, do I hear it? No. Like,
Literally, it's like, okay, I yes, they are definitely harmonizing. But that,
yes. And, like, it sounds beautiful, but it's not a feature.
yeah,
She did background vocals.
yeah. Who was it that featured? It was like Kesha featured in "Right Round" by Flo Rida, and like Kesha didn't get featuring credits, but you could hear Kesha have like three different parts.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know, it's so funny. I feel like the only song that I can think of that is with a woman that actually gets featured is Nothing New by Phoebe
Yes,
Bridgers.
yeah,
With
Phoebe.
Phoebe. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you're right. She gets like a whole ass. Oh God, if
Like
I had a
half
Taylor
a
Swift
song. Yeah. And otherwise, if you're not Ed Sheeran, like, you're like, don't bother.
she always gives the features to the stinky men.
I know.
Charlie Puth, it's your time.
Yeah, step up, Shirley.
I do like this song though. Like it's not like in my opinion, it's not a huge jam. It's not like what I thought it might be when you saw like a feature of somebody where you get like the most. But I like the vibe it creates is very cool. Snow
Yeah.
on
On the beach, weird but
but
fucking beautiful. Okay, I will say, like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, like, play Snow
Yeah.
on the Beach, but I will say, when I was in said shower, what was I singing? Snow on the Beach.
I kind of connected it to "'Tis the Damn Season," not because of the like winter connection, and to "The Last Great American Dynasty," which are like two songs, and I'm like, don't really if I like know if I understand exactly like their place in the order on this album, but songs that I will go listen to without having to listen to other parts of the album, or
Yeah.
like I could like dip my toes into like wanting to listen to that song, but not like listen to a lot of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, totally. I don't love the metaphor of snow on the beach.
Oh, I was thinking about that too, but I'm wondering if that is because we are like northern hemisphere people who are like, yes, when it snows on the beach, it's cold as anything out. It's like winter time, and the beach is like hell has frozen over. Like I'm like, yeah, snow on the beach is like something that happens, but I guess
Everywhere.
for the Southern California crowd, snow on the beach is like, you know that Christmas movie that used to be on Disney Channel that's like one of my top
Yeah.
five favorite Christmas movies? I don't remember what the lead actress is, but Brenda Song is in it as the friend, and they get the snowmaker.
Yes, and it reminds me of when the snow comes down in Tinseltown on Hilary Duff's Christmas album. Like, stream that.
To me, it's like that vibe of like, okay, people in the South or like Southern California have like romanticized this idea of snow.
Okay, I know, because I was like, if I walk down the street in a month, there'll be snow on the beach, and people
It's
will
weird,
be
but fucking
snowboarding.
beautiful.
Yeah. Like, people will pile up the snow, bring their snowboards, and do like tricks and stuff on the beach. Like, it's not. I don't know. I guess you're right. It's not evoking anything weird to me.
Yeah,
but
no, right. And I feel like it's also not like that beautiful because it's like, yeah, when it snows on the beach here, I look across the ocean and it's fog.
yeah, it's like straight
nothing,
fog.
nothing says love like fog.
Yeah, literally.
But I got what she was going for, and you know, I think she really just was like, I want two things that are weird, and in her brain, she was like, okay, I've got it, snow,
Snow.
but on the beach.
Yeah.
It's weird, but fucking beautiful.
Fucking beautiful.
But like pre-album, people were like, "Oh, it's Lana Del Rey and Snow on the Beach. It's like cocaine." And then she does reference coke in like a later song. It's like maybe she wanted to like dip her toe into like the coke like metaphors that she hasn't used before. And it was like when she first tried out saying the word "fuck," she was like, "I just want to test this little piece out." So maybe she's just like, you know, dry running some stuff for future albums.
Okay, but actually though, I feel like there's a lot of references to being high on this album. Because she says in one song, I can't remember again because I haven't memorized all the lyrics, but she says like eyes wide like saucers. She says you're out there smoking with your boys. Like there's definitely, she says half-mooned eyes. Like I definitely think that there's like, I think maybe Joe smokes weed or something like that, but like she's definitely like, I feel like referencing drugs more.
Like, which might connect to like radio play and all that.
Yeah, which she again doesn't care. The only thing I want to say more about Snow on the Beach was I fucking hate the line, "Now I'm all for you like Janet."
Okay, so I was gonna say I'm like pretty sure the line about the saucers in my eyes is in this song.
Is it? Oh my god, I'm gonna
Because
die
she,
if it
she
is.
says the flying saucer lines before she says that line about Janet.
Oh,
And as you look at it, if that's true, our mutual friend Teddy loved. Oh, Teddy who's been on the pod. Should have been on the pod a few more times
y'all know
than he
Teddy.
was.
Yeah. He loves that line. Well, okay, I love All For You by Janet. I don't want to mince words. That is a fucking unreal song. But the line reminds me of Come Back Stronger Than a 90s Trend. It's like a little cheese ball.
Yeah, it says, but your eyes are flying saucers from another planet. Now I'm all for you like Janet.
Okay, so you were right and I was wrong. But yeah, like that seems like if you're from another planet, you're high. Like it very much reads as the person's high.
It's like snow
On the beach.
Maybe that's what it is.
Beautiful.
Maybe they're like acid tripping on the beach.
Yeah, and they're
Right?
like, oh
Maybe
my god,
like
snow.
that's what it is. Like, yeah, right? And they're like, this is like weird, but
Yeah.
so maybe snow on the beach is a metaphor.
Yeah. I feel like it maybe is cocaine, but I don't know. Taylor doesn't seem like the girly that does hard drugs. Like
she doesn't.
she seems very straight-laced, but like maybe Joe has influenced her.
That would track.
Okay, let's talk about your On Your Own Kid.
We're moving on.
Yeah, bye. This is track number 5, which obviously in Taylor lore is a big deal. What did you think? Taylor, folklore, evermore.
I was actually pleasantly surprised by the fact that this is more of an upbeat track 5.
Yes.
And I think that the cool thing about the track 5 like vibes, right, are that it's like the most personal song on each album, right? That's kind of like what she tries to get at when she like picks those. Tori's nodding her head for those of you at home.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, you are ready for a song that's going to rip you to shreds. And I think the lyrics do, but sonically, it's upbeat.
Yeah, and most of them are those like slower ones, like Tolerate It or My Tears Ricochet or even Delicate, which is like more like quieter. I was surprised it was more upbeat. And then I was like, I actually really like this song.
Me too. I really like it. So the first thing I thought when I saw You're on Your Own Kid was the first thing. It was like, don't call me kid, don't call me baby. Which I thought was interesting. Also, just the metaphor, like, I really do feel like Taylor thinks she's a lone wolf, like, feels like a lone wolf. And, like, that makes sense. Like, I don't think she had tons of friends in school. I think she kind of got bullied. And then she tried the girl squad thing, but that kind of, like, disintegrated. And I do feel like she feels like she's by herself.
And Jack Antonoff.
Yeah, she's by herself, but with Jack constantly. And let's stop that.
Did you see her post where she was like, it's presumptuous for me to say a lifelong friend?
I know. I was like, yeah, Taylor, because you like have fallen outs with all of your friends. Like so fucking funny. Okay, I wanted to ask you this. What do you think she meant by I didn't choose this town, I dream of getting out. There's just one who could make me stay.
So I maybe I haven't listened to it enough yet. To me, the first verse felt like her younger self. Maybe like her hometown. And look, I'm probably wrong, but I looked at the one who could make me stay was like Drew from the aforementioned Teardrops on My Guitar.
Fuck, that's so fucking funny.
I wish you all could have seen Tori's like reaction. Like she was visibly taken aback when I said that, and she started laughing.
Like literally, maybe I'll post that clip. Like I'm fucking dead. I took this as maybe Calvin Harris.
What town was Calvin Harrison?
I don't know. Let's look. Where does Calvin Harris live?
Every time we bring up Calvin Harris in reference to one of these Taylor Swift podcasts we do, I'm always like, oh yeah. Like, that is not something that has ever been on my mind.
I forgot that he was one of her very, like, long-term boyfriends.
But
okay, he's
okay,
Scottish?
Wait. Mind blown moment. This is my
Yeah.
second mind blown moment of the day. The first lyrics of the song are "Summer went away," and my favorite Calvin Harris song is "Summer."
Okay.
Right?
Okay. What? Okay, fucking, you are you should be Swifty, make your
Swifty.
TikTok account, like, oh my God. Okay, that makes so much sense. And then, okay, this is what, because in her relationship with Calvin Harris, she talks about how basically he was at the club doing I don't know what, and she was not. And so it just makes sense to me about the lyrics of like, I wait patiently, he's gonna notice me. It's okay, we're the best of friends anyway. And then I hear it in your voice, you're smoking with your boys. I touch my phone as if it's your face. And then I will say, we think that Getaway Car, right, is
Nothing
about
good starts in a getaway car.
We think that's Tom Hiddleston, right? When she basically went with Tom and broke up with Kelvin. Because this song says, I see the great escape. I took the money.
Okay. Well,
And in
what is the
Getaway
money?
Car, doesn't it say great escape?
The only great escape I know is Gwen Stefani.
Yeah, / Feet Akon or whoever it was.
Who got a proper feature.
Yeah, literally. It was the great escape, the prison break, the light of freedom on your face.
1 for the money, 2 for the show. That's not even, is that even that song?
No, I don't think so.
That is definitely a Folklore and Evermore song.
1 for the money, 2 for
But that's
the
definitely
show.
champagne problems.
Like, that's
I never was
so
ready, so I watched him
Watch
go.
you go. Sometimes you just don't know the answer. Whatever. Just someone's on their feet.
She would have made such a perfect bride. See the bride again.
Such a shame she's fucked in the head.
And the fuck.
Another fuck. I just feel like, yeah, this references Getaway Car, so that leads me to think it's about Kelvin and Tom Hiddleston.
Okay. I guess I had interpreted the first verse being like when she was like younger, like before she went to Nashville to like get famous, because the pre-chorus is like from sprinkler splashes to fireplace ashes, I waited ages to see you there. I guess I had interpreted the visual of sprinkler splashes, like when you're young playing a sprinkler in your yard.
Hey, that makes sense, but I interpreted it as August, like summer activities moving into fall, winter activities.
Oh, you're probably right. But then, yeah, because the second verse does start with the like, I see the great escape, so long Daisy May. Like, to me, I was interpreting that as like, my great escape is music and going to Nashville and starting an opportunity at my new life there. Because the second verse goes into like, I play songs in the parking lot, I'll run away. Because like, her new love and interest bloomed in writing music, but maybe I'm interpreting it completely wrong.
That does lead me, I feel like the parking lot thing really leads me to like teenage years though.
Yeah.
So,
because
I don't know.
If the track 5 is all about like her most personal song, I really looked at all of this song as her looking at herself and her journey to get where she is now, and that she's been on her own and trying to do it the entire time. Because even this, like, from sprinkler splashes to fireplace ashes, I called a taxi to take me there. I searched the party of better bodies just to learn that my dreams aren't rare. So specifically those last 2 lines, that like maybe she goes to like an audition, or she goes to like some type of like festival where she's playing music, and she's like, oh my god, there's a lot of better people than me here, all wanting the same thing that I want. And then it's like, you're on your own, kid, you always have been, which is like, she's really like on her own to make this happen. I didn't look at it as a love song or about any of her like previous relationships.
I definitely agree with you that it seems like it's her reflecting on herself, but I think part of that is relationships.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. It's like, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I haven't had time to process it because I haven't listened to the song with that lens yet. So I'm like trying to read the lyrics and see, and then every time I read lyrics, I think back to like how I've been interpreting them. It's like the whole, and like I see what you're saying, like I'd be saved by a perfect kiss, like that obviously feels like a relationship related thing. I guess I look at the line like, I gave my blood, sweat, and tears for this. I've hosted parties and starved my body. I guess to me, I looked at that as like, I've given everything to music. I've like gone out of my way to try to get like people to see me, like discover me, and then again bring back the stuff that she brought, like, and maybe the music video from Anti-Hero about like her body,
Yeah.
and trying to be like the perfect, like, American Idol-ish type of star,
Yeah.
where it's like you can't just like have the talent, you also have to look the part.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. Like, for me, I hosted parties and Star of My Body's, like I'd say, by A Perfect Kiss. I very much feel like that was her reflecting on her time in the, like, when she was dating Calvin Harris, but like not about him specifically, but just in that age range. Like, because the hosted parties thing sounds like her 4th of July parties. And I feel like she definitely was like, I will be saved. I'll be better. I won't be alone when I find my perfect partner.
Okay, so a few things that I need the pieces to solve is, between what two albums was this, like, Last Great American Dynasty-ish era when she was hosting these parties, like Gatsby?
Like, what years were those?
No, like, was it between Red and 1989? Was it between Speak Now and Red? Like, what era?
I see what you're saying. So this would have been, that's a good point. This would have been Red, between Red and what came after Red?
Reputation, I think.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's a lie. I would just totally skip 1989.
Oh, yes. Okay, so it's Red. This is the Red in 1989 era.
Okay. And then who was she dating in Red?
Harry Styles.
Ugh.
I know. It was like, so it was Harry Styles and then I think Calvin Harris.
And then
like,
Tom
publicly.
Hiddleston.
Again, publicly, because we know Carly was there. But like, publicly, she was dating, I think, Harry, Calvin, then Tom.
Okay. And then who'd she date after Tom?
It could have been Connor Kennedy. It could have been Harry, Connor, Calvin, Tom. Who did she date after Tom publicly? Joe, wasn't it?
Sure. I don't know the deep-seated Taylor Swift relationship history. But then, I guess while you're looking at that, the other part that it's like, so long Daisy May. Who is Daisy May? Is this a character we know?
Okay, so I looked that up and I can't find anyone. Okay, just wait. Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal, Connor Kennedy, Harry Styles, Calvin Harris, Tom Hiddleston. So I was right.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that, like, now that I'm hearing all this, there's definitely can be a connection to Calvin Harris. Like, I'm talking about these parties and it being around that time span, yeah.
And then Tom Hiddleston into Joe, because Joe and her have been together for 6 years. So they would have started shortly after Tom and Taylor broke up, which was September 2016, which would be 6 years to now.
Yeah, I guess I'm really, really trying to figure out, like, what the crux of this song is about. There's so many different elements. Like, you're right, the love piece of, like, actually looking for, like, a partner, I think is something that I'd missed the first time, because I was not interpreting the love as, like, a partner, but, like, the love as the dream. But I definitely think there's a lot of elements in here that are, like, I realize I don't need these things to be who I want to be. And just figuring that out on your own. And that's why it's like, you're on your own, kid. Figure these things out.
And I feel like she felt really alone in those two relationships, which we'll talk about later in the album, because I think Tom Hiddleston comes up again. But yeah. Okay, I Googled who is Daisy May, and all I came up was a character in Animal Crossing.
Not that.
I know. But isn't there a Daisy in The Great Gatsby?
Yes, so that, okay, and I didn't want to be the one to bring that up again, because, like, I'm definitely blind.
Because, like, 3 times the charm? Like.
Well, dude, I've been, like, reading it so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a character, Daisy, in The Great Gatsby, but I don't know if her middle name is May. But then I'm like, and she's talking about, like, these parties that she threw, and then the whole part of The Great Gatsby is throwing these parties over the course of, like, 5 years in hopes that Daisy will come to one of the parties.
Oh my God. Her middle name is Faye, Daisy Faye Buchanan. Do you think she actually says Daisy Faye and just people picked it up wrong?
I definitely think it's Ma. Like Daisy
okay, so
May.
or maybe
but
she
maybe
said,
she's just changing the lyrics
so it's not as obvious.
Yeah.
But it's
like this part where
I looked
it's
at
like,
Wiki and it's Daisy Faye Buchanan.
Oh.
Again, let's start our fucking TikTok.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't know. I'm like, look, like, is she is she like writing this from the perspective of like I don't know. This is why it's so interesting to talk about this stuff because it's like all of these things can mean so many different things, and I think like again back to what I said when I brought up Gatsby the first time is I think Taylor Swift is looking at this as like I want people to really have to like jump in and try to analyze these and give them places to like get like a foothold into how they want to analyze it and go down those trails and have people look at it in a lot of different ways because that's what makes music long lasting and that's what makes music interesting is
And
when you're like
books.
yeah no and books for sure but I feel like and this is I feel like a lot of the songs now that I am seeing on Spotify's like top hits or whatever are songs that like are destined to live in the moment that is here and now as like they're all pretty similar in terms of like what they're doing and I think that like Taylor mainly because of how she writes is songs that like you can keep going back to and interpreting in all of these different ways based off what parts you're picking out and focusing on. It's kind of like what I said earlier about The Great Gatsby is like if I'm reading it right now, interpreting F. Scott Fitzgerald, the author, trying to be a magician and trying to keep your focus in one area while you're missing pieces in other areas, it's like Taylor Swift is doing the same thing. Like in just this song that we listened to, your interpretation was one thing because you picked up on all of these things and you knew her previous history with Calvin Harris and relationships. Whereas like I did not have that context and I'm listening to it, interpreting it in a way that has really no comparison to the way that you did.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
yeah.
makes it tough to figure out like okay what is she actually talking about here but makes the song even that much more engaging to okay every time I listen to it what am I picking up on this
Totally.
time.
And you brought up the Great Gatsby, and like I brought up books because I think, yeah, that's how books also stand the test of time, like the Great Gatsby. And there's so many different interpretations of it. And I feel like she is kind of penning herself as an author, like in the All Too Well 10-minute version music video, in the song Dear Reader.
Yeah, that's a good
And
connection.
like I feel like she sees herself kind of as an author. And like also there was one other kind of hint to that. Oh, folklore. I don't know. Like people who write
Yes,
folklore. Yeah.
and that's what I had said
Authors.
when we I think actually in our 2 year podcast I talked about how like is she writing this because she wants there to be folklore surrounded her about like what really is the truth and what's myth and what's reality and she doesn't really want to give away what is myth and what is reality. She wants people to
Exactly.
kind of
To
be
talk
stuck in
about it.
that
And
fog.
and that's why I think she's obsessed with people like Rebecca Harkness and like The Great Gatsby because those people had all of this myth surrounding
Mhm.
them and multiple versions of the story, etc. And they're talked about, decades after they came out. And I think that is her shtick.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. I feel like we did really get to the bottom of something there.
Yeah, yeah. Like I definitely think I'm gonna listen to it again because also this is we again it's tradition for us to talk about the album, our first hot takes, like our first couple listens. Maybe in our 2 year our 2 year midnights deep dive we'll have other thoughts, but like definitely agree that that this is the main thing of Taylor Swift's career is like the conversations it starts and the different interpretations people have of it.
I mean, even the line in this one that's like something different bloomed writing in my room, and then she immediately goes like, "I play my songs in the parking lot." Like, but we also know that Taylor Swift has like penned poetry, and
Mm-hmm.
no, and I think you're right. Like, even like
Yes.
writing All Too Well to be like a 10-minute long song. Like, I think that's always been part of like Taylor Swift is you don't look at her just as a singer, but you look at her as a writer versus
Yeah.
like other artists that you look at as like a singer. And there's
A
nothing wrong with that,
performer. Yeah.
but you can create so much more around yourself when you are writing your own stuff and people don't really know exactly what you're referring to. And I mean, look, like I'm going to speak on your behalf here. Like neither of us are like musical connoisseurs, right?
No,
So
0%.
it would be like almost like presumptuous of me to come in here and be like, I'm going to analyze the fuck out of Taylor Swift and
Same,
talk
same.
about like the backbeat and how much of a genius or an idiot Jack Antonoff is.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
fun that I have with Taylor Swift and through talking about like this album and folklore with you is piecing together what everything is trying to say and the lyrics mean and what they mean to me. And that's the fun that I have with it. So like when we go on
Same.
these tangents and talk about like stuff that's like not really song specific or about the album, that's where all the fun lies in picking up all that
Of
stuff.
course, of course. Also, did you see where she talked about the quill, the glitter pen, and the fountain pen?
Is that merch though?
Like fucking knowing her, coming soon, a quill pen with midnights on it, like midnight blue ink, like fuck. So apparently she was saying that she writes songs in 3 different ways. One with a glitter pen, one with a quill, and one with a fountain pen. And I'm just going to pull that up. Hold on.
And while you do that, I mean, I know that she also referenced parts of this album in her speech at NYU.
Yes, yeah, she did.
Including like the line like "You're on your own, kid."
Yeah, and the breathe in, breathe out, breathe.
Yeah, and like that's the part of the mystique that she's trying to create is like everything she does is intentional, and it would be like a disservice to understanding Taylor Swift and her music if you didn't think that stuff she was doing was intentional.
I know, 100%. Okay, so I'm on Reddit and it said in her speech at what?
NYU?
Literally, if it is, I'm gonna die. It says in her speech, no, at when she won Artist of the Decade at the Nashville Songwriters Association International. So this was September 20th, 2022. She says she writes 3 different ways. So quill songs are if the words and phrasings are antiquated, if I was inspired to write it after reading Charlotte Bronte or after watching a movie where everyone is wearing poet shirts and corsets, if my lyrics sound like a letter written by Emily Dickinson's great-grandmother while sewing a lace curtain, that's me writing in the quill genre.
That's so interesting. That connection
so
is so
fucking
much
interesting.
She's mentioning these authors that have stood the test of time, and I think that for Taylor, like that's the legacy that she wants to leave. I mean,
Yes.
let's be clear too. Like she has really nothing left to prove. Like she could retire right now.
Yeah,
and,
of course.
Like there's nothing else that she needs to prove. It's similar to like I would say like Adele in that area. Like Adele doesn't have anything more to prove in herself and her music. For like people like them, it's at the point of like creating a legacy for yourself, and I think Taylor Swift knows that. And maybe the reason that Taylor Swift is talking about in this album, like, I don't need to become like a bride or like a mother and stuff, is like that's not the legacy that she feels like she has to leave, but this feels like the one that she wants to.
Yeah, 100%. So then fountain pen songs are, she says, I'd say most of my lyrics fall into this category. Fountain pen style means a modern storyline or references with a poetic twist, taking a common phrase and flipping its meaning, trying to paint a vivid picture of a situation down to the chipped paint on the door frame or the rust, you could say.
The rust on the telephone.
And the incense dust on the vinyl shelf. Okay, so she clearly was also hinting at Maroon at that in that speech. Placing yourself or whoever is listening right there in the room where it all happened. The love, the loss, everything. The songs I categorize in this style sound like confession scribbled and sealed in an envelope, but too brutally honest to ever send.
Okay.
Damn. And then glitter gel pen songs. She says, it lives up to its name in every way. Frivolous, carefree, bouncy, syncopated, perfectly to the beat. Glitter gel pen lyrics don't care if you don't take them seriously because they don't take themselves seriously.
So that'd be like Cruel Summer.
Yeah, or like I'm thinking of like 22 or something like that.
Yeah.
Glitter gel pen lyrics are the drunk girl at the party who tells you that you look like an angel in the bathroom. It's what we need every once in a while in these fraught times in which we live. That's fucking so funny.
Probably like what is we are never getting back together. Like that's
yeah. So fun. Yeah, and there's Reddit threads that are now dividing up all her songs into these categories.
That's fun.
But super fun. But yeah, so why I brought that up was when we were just talking about, again, her seeing herself as like an author and like and these great references to age-old like classics and stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that just what you shared there, that like Taylor Swift said, makes me look at her as a writer. Like
Yeah. I think again that she's trying to pose herself as that too, because those are the things that again stand the test of time, and I think she does really care about like her legacy.
Right.
Okay,
Well,
we're gonna take a quick break and we'll be right back.